Good morning, everyone. I recently did a video on how woke liberals in academia are demanding a complete overhaul to the school's curriculum. They are demanding that we inject the curriculum with Black Lives Matter propaganda and social justice warrior ideologies. They are demanding that we teach kids from a very young age that America is systemically racist, and even if you're a white person growing up in poverty, that you benefit from something called white privilege. Today, I want to turn your attention to two of the most widely read pieces of literature that are influencing young, impressionable minds all over the country. So first, I bring you here to #1 New York Times bestseller, How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi, a book that's been characterized as a groundbreaking approach to understanding and uprooting racism and inequality in our society and in ourselves. The most courageous book to date on the problem of race in the Western mind. Let's take a look at an excerpt from that book, right here highlighted in yellow. The defining question is whether the discrimination is creating equity or inequity. If the discrimination is creating equity, then it's anti-racist. If the discrimination is creating inequity, then it's racist. The only remedy to racist discrimination is anti-racist discrimination. The only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. The only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. So wait a second, if you were taught that all types of discrimination are bad, well, think again. The new woke liberal ideology tells us that there's some types of discrimination that are actually really good. And the only remedy to past discrimination is present discrimination. So in other words, the remedies to past discrimination like slavery and segregation is not to abolish slavery and not to abolish segregation, but it is to discriminate against those individuals that were not victims of segregation and slavery. In other words, white people. It's okay to discriminate against white people because of past discrimination. It's okay to presently discriminate against white people because of past discrimination. And then they go on to say the only remedy to present discrimination is future discrimination. Maybe that's why they keep telling us that America is still systemically racist, so that way they can justify any future discrimination. And then here at the top, as long as the discrimination is creating equity, then it's a good thing. Yeah, you heard that correctly. There is actually some good types of discrimination. Look no further than Yale University, where the Justice Department released a statement saying that Yale illegally discriminates against Asian and whites in undergraduate admissions in violation of federal civil rights laws. They go on to say right here, highlighted in yellow, for the great majority of applicants, Asian Americans and whites have only 1/10 to 1/4 of the likelihood of admission as African American applicants with comparable academic credentials. Yale rejects scores of Asian Americans and white applicants each year based off their race whom it otherwise would admit. According to Ibram Kendi, this is a good type of discrimination because if Asians and whites are overrepresented proportion to their population in these schools, we can just make the admission requirements harder for them. We can discriminate against race. We could have different requirements for those individuals solely based off their race, and that's considered a good thing to Ibram Kendi. California Democrats are really taking Ibram Kendi's teachings to heart, where they are trying to repeal a 1996 law that was passed called Proposition 209 that strictly prohibited against discriminating against individuals based off their race, sex, or nation of origin. And right here, you could see California legislature moves to allow discrimination in higher education. And if you scroll down here, this was the bill that was passed in 1996 called Proposition 209 that strictly prohibited discrimination. It read, "The state shall not discriminate against or grant preferential treatment to any individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in the operation of public employment, public education, or public contracting." This right here is the bill that Democrats are trying to repeal. They're trying to bring back discrimination. They think it's okay to discriminate against individuals based off their race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin. It's like everything is backwards. Everything they told us is a complete lie. The group that claims that they are against racism is actually trying to repeal a law that prohibits racism. Ironically, the group that tells us that they're fighting for social justice and racial equality are the ones trying to repeal a law that prohibits discrimination based on race. This will be voted on November 3rd. Vote wisely. Now I bring you back here to remind us of the book that told us all of this is perfectly acceptable. And as long as you discriminate against the right race of people, it actually makes you an anti-racist. And this isn't the only book that's at the top of the charts that is poisoning the minds of young, impressionable youths. We also have White Fragility, number 8 this week, over 12,000 reviews, most of them overwhelmingly positive. Its author is Robin DiAngelo, and if we scroll down here to get some more information, look right here, it is number 1 in ethnic demographic studies. It's number 1 in discrimination and racism. It's also number 1 in parenting and relationships, and it's ranked number 13 of all time. Its author is a virtuous liberal white woman named Robin DiAngelo, who expresses that she feels uncomfortable around black people. That's because she's a racist. If you are uncomfortable around black people, that's a great indication that you are in fact a racist. And this is a book that is being read all over the country, poisoning the minds of young, impressionable youths. Couple that with the book that I had mentioned earlier, How to Be an Anti-Racist, that tells kids, that tells students that as long as they discriminate against the right group of people, it's actually a really good thing. And the only way to remedy past discrimination is with current discrimination. And it's no surprise that we have race riots all over the country with no end in sight. If we adopt the ideologies of these poisonous, toxic books, race riots will seemingly never come to an end. That's my video. Please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe, and I will see you all next time.